Last year, when visiting England for the first time, we did what you might call a goth pilgrimage, going from London up to Whitby to experience the place that inspired Bram Stoker to write Dracula. And it's easy to see why that place would leave such a lasting impression on a writer, or anyone really. It was amazing to see it in person. Gorgeous scenery, atmospheric, you can see the history in the place. It's a small place, but with a lot of character. Of course, it has changed a lot since the turn of the century, the previous century. Nothing makes you feel quite as old as saying, I was born in the 1900s. Anyway, since 1897, of course it has changed, but a lot of the landscape still remains the same, and some of the events in the book happen in Whitby, and the characters describe seeing it through their eyes. Many people say that Whitby Abbey was Stoker's inspiration for the estate called Carfax that the Count purchases as a lair and base of operations not far from London. But the Abbey is explicitly mentioned, and the way Carfax is described doesn't sound particularly like that to me. Anyway, I first read the book about 20 years ago, funnily enough, after I watched the movie. And recently I reread, or rather re-listened to Dracula in audiobook format. And it's interesting to compare it to the movie. And there's one thing in particular that stood out. The final confrontation in the book is not as dramatic as in the movie, nowhere near. And that actually does something. That does something to the character of Dracula. And interestingly enough, makes him seem more powerful in the novel with less fighting, actually. And that's what I would like to talk about. First off, of course, there are spoilers. I mean, if you haven't watched the movie or read the book and would like to do so, then yeah, there will be spoilers here. I'm literally talking about the end. So, that out of the way, when Jonathan Harker, Lord Godalming, Dr. Seward, and Quincy Morris chase the carriage that contains the box in which Dracula rests on his native soil, in the movie, they shoot a bunch of Sagani. Like they're doing a real action scene, including fancy one-handed twirling of the Winchester. There's sword fighting too, lots of action. Most of the guards get killed. In the book, not a single shot is fired. The Sagani are being held at gunpoint. They stand around the carriage trying to defend it, but there's no gunfire, and Jonathan and Quincy try to get to the box, and in the process Quincy gets into a knife fight with some of them and gets stabbed in the side from the front, not in the back from behind the way it is in the movie. In the movie, when they get to it, the Count bursts out of the box and Jonathan immediately opens his throat with his kukri, and then Quincy stabs him in the chest with his bowie knife. In the original, Jonathan also ends up slashing Dracula's throat and Quincy stabbing him in the heart, but there's an important difference. He's still in the box, motionless, like conscious, but it seems like he can't move. Not yet. And they're still in time to do this before the sun sinks so low that he, fully wakes up and is at full strength. In the movie, it's not quite as clear if the sun is low enough that he regains his strength, but either way, he can move. He confronts them. Like he doesn't really have a chance to attack them other than tossing Jonathan around after he gets his throat cut open. But in the book, he's helpless. And that's important because it really drives home the point of how much of an uphill battle it would have been otherwise. They couldn't afford to confront him at full power. There are only 2 times when they actually confront him physically. This is the second, and the first is during the day when they ambush him at one of his houses. At that point, Jonathan is trying to get him with a kukri. He takes a swipe at him, but the Count is too fast and just dodges out of the way, and the others can't touch him either. And so that's, as I said, during the day when he's at his weakest, when he doesn't have most of his powers, and they still, even as a group, ambushing him and standing in different spots, they still can't get him. He manages to escape from there. The movie sticks to that too. The group knows that they have no chance against him when he's at full power. They have to get the jump on him before it's nighttime, when he's still weakened. But the movie just doesn't go quite as far with it as the book, because, as I said, he gets out of the box and he can move. In the book, he's completely helpless. That's really their only chance. To audiences now, or even back in the 90s, it may seem sort of anticlimactic that it's over so soon, right? Like, why is there not more fighting? Why is there not more dramatic? It's just like, in the end, they catch up to the carriage, they get to the box, and they take care of business. They basically murder him while he lies helpless, right? Because that's the only thing they can do. So this is an interesting case where less is more. With less fighting, with really minimal fighting, almost nothing, the character seems more powerful, seems more overbearing. Like, if that's the only thing, the only chance they have, it makes the power gap seem more dramatic and the odds worse. Something similar happens in the animated Castlevania series, when Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard fight Dracula, and Dracula almost kills Alucard, and he stops because he realizes what he's doing, that he's killing his son. Then he allows Alucard to kill him. Like, he wouldn't have been able to. Dracula is super overpowered. The way he's portrayed there, it seems like nobody can take him on. Not a Belmont either, which of course is a departure from the games, because obviously the Belmonts can take him on. And I find that really refreshing when this trope of impossible battles is so prevalent, where the hero fights an enemy, like a villain, who is way stronger, but then something happens. Through the power of friendship, or through unlocking hidden potential because of all the desperation, then the hero suddenly rises up to the challenge and all of that. It's like plot armor, basically. Up to this point, you had absolutely no chance, but now you do because the plot says so. Shut up. And it also underscores that, yes, this is something supernatural and superhuman. Sometimes they make vampires weirdly squishy. Like, think about From Dusk Till Dawn, for example. They drop like flies. You know, they have all these weaknesses, you know, like holy water just burns them immediately. Like, you stab them quickly and just, that's it. Like, that happens in a number of scenarios where eventually you just wonder, aren't they supposed to be stronger than humans? They're so squishy, at least if you exploit their weakness. And of course, again, in Dracula, both book and movie, it's the same thing. Like, you can only defeat him by using the weaknesses against him, of course. But sometimes it seems like it's more weaknesses than anything else. Basically, the exact opposite of what I'm talking about here would be Dragonball. Don't even get me started about power levels. Power levels are bullshit. Sometimes less is indeed more. Restraining yourself as a writer, leaving more to the reader's imagination, and kind of expressing more by what you don't show as opposed to what you show. Anyway, that's just something I felt like ranting about. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and take care.